All right, as we say that there is some new CBS News polling out there that shows that very few Americans believe shutting down the government is actually worth it. Earlier today, CBS News Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto, told my colleague Errol Barnett that it's making everyone in Washington look bad in the eyes of voters. Watch this.
Nobody right now is coming out looking good in the eyes of the public. All of them, President Trump, Republicans in Congress, Democrats in Congress, they're all net negative on how they're handling the shutdown. But the story, Errol, really is why. And that is, you see people say they're concerned about the impact of the shutdown on the economy. And you and I have discussed many times, the economy remains the top issue, the economy and inflation for people. So it all starts to look like a bit of a potential impact, maybe even a distraction from focusing on that. And so that comes back to the sort of top line. Is this worth it? Are their positions worth a shutdown? And very few people say that it is.
As you can see, about a quarter of those polled on either side responded that the shutdown could be worth it in the end. CBS News congressional correspondent Caitlin Huey-Burns is on Capitol Hill, where the Senate will take another vote that could end the shutdown today. Caitlin, what could break this impasse between these Senate lawmakers?
Well, Vlad, it's good to be with you. The Senate isn't coming back until late this afternoon, and they're not going to have a vote until this evening, early this evening, which shows that there's really not a sense of urgency up here on Capitol Hill because the two sides are still very much entrenched in their positions. The conversation that you and I are having now could be the same one that we were having last week. The arguments remain the same and the positions remain the same. And there has been no movement over the weekend. The two sides aren't talking to each other, really. They're talking to the media. We saw over the weekend the leaders of both parties out in full force pushing forward their arguments. And you can tell kind of how far apart they are when you listen to those arguments. So, for example, take a listen to the top leaders over the weekend.
Real people are being adversely affected around the country, and some in very substantial ways. I pray that more Democrats in the Senate will come to their senses and do the right thing. And when they have the next opportunity on Monday to vote to open the government, I surely hope that they will.
We've been trying for months and months to sit down with them and have a serious conversation addressing America's health care needs. And they've refused and refused and refused.
All right, so basically what Democrats are saying is that they will not support any sort of measure unless it includes policy that extends those Obamacare subsidies that are set to lapse at the end of the year. Republicans are saying we can talk about that at some point, but you have to open the government first. So you can see how far apart they remain. Today, we're watching to see whether any conversations happen. And Vlad, at that vote later today, what I'm watching is if any Democrats peel off and end up supporting this measure. We've started to see some cracks in the Democratic coalition. You've had at least two members who have supported this Republican resolution and an independent who caucuses with the Democrats. So Republicans are basically just trying to peel off some Democrats. And Vlad, this is really just a staring contest. We're waiting to see who blinks, and neither side shows any indication that they will at this point.
Yeah, and while they play that game of chicken, all of us, essentially the country loses out. So what's going on the House side, Caitlin? Anything there that might happen with lawmakers that could lead to some kind of a breakthrough?
Well, Vlad, I should mention that the House is not coming into session this week. They were supposed to be here, and the Speaker has kept them home. Their argument, at least on paper, is that they've already voted on this measure. They've done their work. They extended government funding, and it's up to the Senate to decide this. There are a few complicating factors, though, Vlad. One is that when the House comes back, they actually will have enough votes to support that Epstein discharge petition that we've been talking about a long time before the shutdown took place. They now likely have enough votes to do that because there is a new Democrat that is set to be sworn in next time Congress comes back. So that is kind of put on hold while all of this. But the Republicans are arguing that the House doesn't need to be here because they've already done their work, putting more spotlight on the Senate. And Vlad, all of this just speaks to what we're seeing in our polling, is that the public is just, pointing fingers at all sides here. They're upset that Congress and the White House can't get together to do a basic job of governing, which is to fund the government. So I think Anthony's polling is very interesting about how all of this politics is going on up here on Capitol Hill. People are starting to feel the brunt of it. People who are furloughed are still getting paychecks, but by next week, those paychecks will run out. So that is when we may start to really see pressure from the outside ramp up, and that could change the dynamics up here, but we just have to wait and see.
Yeah, just like everybody else. All right, Caitlin Huey-Burns for us. Thank you, Caitlin, as always. We appreciate you.